Rise of the Planet of the Apes, starring James Franco, provides a fresh origin story to the classic Planet of the Apes saga. The film begins with Will Rodman, played by Franco, a dedicated scientist at Genesis, who is driven to find a cure for Alzheimer's, a disease that afflicts his father, Charles, played by John Lithgow. Will's research involves developing a genetically engineered retrovirus called ALZ-112, which he tests on chimpanzees to repair brain cells and enhance cognitive abilities. The story takes a significant turn with the introduction of Caesar, a newborn chimpanzee whose mother had been one of the test subjects for ALZ-112. After his mother's aggressive outburst leads to her death, Caesar is secretly raised by Will, who discovers that the virus has been passed on genetically, giving Caesar human-like intelligence. After Will administers the ALZ-112 treatment to his father Charles, there's a brief, luminous interval when the oppressive fog of Alzheimer's dissipates. In these precious moments, Charles reconnects with the world around him, his eyes brightening with recognition and clarity that had long been absent. Yet this success is short-lived. As the effects of the treatment fade, Alzheimer's cruelly reclaims Charles, leaving Will to face the harsh truth about the impermanence of his cure. As Caesar grows, he demonstrates extraordinary intellectual abilities. But his life changes drastically after he violently attacks a neighbor in defense of Charles as the treatment fades. This incident results in Caesar being placed in an ape sanctuary where he is mistreated and learns of the harsh realities of captive ape life. In the sanctuary, Caesar's transformation into a leader begins as he experiences and witnesses abuse at the hands of the facility's caretaker, Dodge Landon, played by Tom Felton. Using his superior intelligence, Caesar formulates a plan to free himself and his fellow apes. He manages to steal canisters of ALZ-113, an evolved form of the virus from Will's lab, and exposes his ape companions, enhancing their cognitive abilities. This culminates in a well-orchestrated uprising where Caesar leads the apes to freedom from the sanctuary, and they head towards the forest surrounding San Francisco. Complicating matters further, one of Will's lab workers contracts the ALZ-113 virus and, during a tense confrontation with a neighbor, inadvertently spreads the virus. This incident triggers a disastrous chain reaction. The virus begins to exhibit devastating effects on humans while simultaneously enhancing the apes. This foreshadows a looming catastrophe. As the virus spreads, it hints at an impending global calamity, setting the stage for a future where humanity's survival teeters precariously against the backdrop of a rising new world dominated by intelligent apes. First, Caesar and his fellow apes head to Will's lab to free the other apes, and then head to the Golden Gate Bridge, where the apes, now organized and following Caesar's strategies, face off against police forces in a bid for freedom. They successfully cross the bridge and find sanctuary in the redwood forests of Muir Woods, establishing a new home away from human interference. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is a sequel to Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and the second installment in the rebooted franchise. Set 10 years after the events of the first film, it depicts a world where a simian flu pandemic, inadvertently created by the ALZ-113 virus, has drastically reduced the human population while significantly advancing ape intelligence. The film opens with Caesar, now the leader of a growing community of intelligent apes, residing in the forests near San Francisco. Caesar has established a society with laws, education for young apes, and a clear social structure. The apes live in relative peace, believing that most humans have been wiped out by the virus. However, a group of human survivors, led by Malcolm and his family, stumble upon the apes while seeking to restore power to San Francisco by repairing a hydroelectric dam in the apes' territory. Initial interactions are tense and fraught with mistrust, but Caesar, who still has memories of kind humans from his youth, allows Malcolm and his group to work on the dam in exchange for peace. As the two groups cautiously interact, bonds begin to form, particularly between Caesar and Malcolm. Both leaders strive for coexistence, seeing the potential for peace between their species. However, not all are in favor of this fragile peace. Koba, a bonobo with deep scars from human experimentation, cannot forgive or forget the cruelties he endured. He views all humans as enemies and vehemently opposes Caesar's leadership and decisions. Koba's growing discontent leads to a violent coup. He takes over the ape community by shooting Caesar and blaming it on the humans. Under Koba's command, the apes launch an assault on the human survivors community in San Francisco, leading to a full-scale conflict. Meanwhile, Caesar, who survived the assassination attempt, recovers with the help of a few loyal followers and Malcolm's family. Realizing that war has begun and it may be too late to return to peace, Caesar confronts and ultimately battles Koba, leading to Koba's death and Caesar reasserting his leadership. The film concludes with Caesar firmly in control of the apes, but deeply aware that the skirmish with the humans has likely alerted other human survivors, hinting at the larger battles to come. He acknowledges to Malcolm that the chance for peace has passed, foreshadowing the inevitable war between apes and humans as both sides fight for survival in a drastically altered world. War for the Planet of the Apes is the third installment in the rebooted Planet of the Apes series. Following Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, the movie begins with Caesar and his ape colony hiding in the woods, continually harassed by a military faction known as the Alpha Omega, led by a ruthless colonel who is determined to preserve humanity at any cost. After a brutal attack by the colonel's forces that results in significant ape casualties, including Caesar's wife and eldest son, Caesar is pushed towards a path of vengeance. He sends the ape colony on a journey to find a safe haven far from human threats, while he and a few trusted allies set off to confront the colonel. Along the way, Caesar's group encounters a mute human girl, Nova, whom they reluctantly adopt into their fold, and a zoo escapee chimpanzee named Bad Ape, who provides some comic relief as well as valuable insights into the journey ahead. These interactions further highlight the complexities of the interspecies relationships in this post-apocalyptic world. The journey leads to a dramatic confrontation at the colonel's stronghold, where Caesar discovers that the remaining human forces are enslaving apes to build a defensive wall against impending attacks from other human militias. As Caesar grapples with his own thirst for revenge against the colonel, he also must lead a rescue operation for his captive ape brethren. The story culminates in a tense standoff between Caesar and the colonel, where personal and ideological conflicts come to a head. The situation escalates when the human militia attacks, leading to a chaotic battle. In the midst of the conflict, the apes manage to escape due to an avalanche triggered by the intense warfare, which also serves to bury the human forces and the conflict itself under layers of snow. In the end, Caesar, having avenged his family and secured the safety of his people, succumbs to his wounds from the journey and battle. His last moments are spent observing the ape colony finally reaching a promised peaceful land, ensuring that his legacy and vision for a world where apes can live free from human oppression will survive.
Thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe and ring that bell to be notified of our newest videos.